Welcome to Midsummer Spring 2017. In just the past few years, horror-based theatrical productions have taken off in Southern California at an incredible rate. While we still live relatively new on the East Coast or West Coast, immersive theater has already taken on many different forms, attracting audiences from all walks. Terrifying, captivating, engaging, creepy, raw, and even disturbing, this is horror theater. Please welcome to the stage your host, Noah Nelson from No Proscenium.
Hi, everybody. There's more than 10 of you. I'm already shocked and impressed. We've got 3 of our 4 guests. You'll figure that out in a second. I am Noah Nelson of No Proscenium. Let's get that next slide. We conveniently put all of the logos in one place. I suppose making a hunt for there. I've got the weird Tron-looking one. First guest out is going to be, and we've just been spending the past 15 minutes talking about how I'm bad at names, so I've been joking about it, so I didn't butcher everything. But Jonathan Josephson from Unbound Productions, aka Wicked Lit. Jonathan, come on out.
Woo!
So joining us is Anna Mavromati of Shine On Collective. And bringing up for a letter, representing the Z team this time, is Landon Zakheim of the Overlook Film Festival. Come on out, Landon. Zombie Joe may show up at some point. I think he's currently torturing people out in the lobby. If you are excited to see Joe, you might go get in line. I don't know where he is. He knows the time is on, I think. But he's also running all the sound cues. So, and as we know, the show must go on. First order of business, because I want to get a sense of the room here. If you know one person, any one person on this panel, please raise your hand. Keep your hands up. If you know at least 2 people on this panel, you may keep your hand up. Everyone else, put their hands down. 3 people. 4. Okay, good. I was kind of terrified and thinking that everyone would be up for 4 and then we'd just be like, all right, it's cocktail hour. It is the last panel of the day. And I'm probably going to pace a little bit because that's who I am. This is good. We'll do another quick poll. How many people here have been to an immersive theater show of any kind, horror or otherwise? Good chunk of you. Okay, so if you were coming for a discussion about what immersive theater is, then you're not going to get that. Like, I hate that discussion. That's my least favorite discussion possible. We can do that afterwards. What we are going to talk about is we are going to talk about immersive theater, but we're not going to define it because that's a waste of our time. We are going to talk about the horror part of it, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that pop up. And anyone who listens, a few people listen to my podcast, you will know that it's always just a rando conversation. And I have interviewed everybody on this stage, so they know what they're in for. So let's just pop off, and starting off, Landon, starting because you're to my left, introduce yourself real quick, and what got you into presenting horror films?
My name is Landon Zakheim, co-director of the Overlook Film Festival. What got me into presenting this is I've been a film programmer and a festival organizer for over a decade. I actually came into a love of genre through the art house scene, whereas my partner in Overlook came up, was raised more in kind of a love of genre. So I came kind of through the back door, but was always a big fan of site-specific experiences, a big fan of Halloween, used to curate local site-specific stuff. So when the opportunity to start curating film in site-specific haunted venues came up, I jumped all over it. My partner and I assembled a team of excited film programmers from other major festivals and advisors from major organizations who kind of were all excited at the idea of pushing through more interesting ideas and events that were harder to pull off or just never had a chance of being pulled off at some of our other festivals. So it sort of became this passion project where we could all create a horror summer camp filled with the kind of events that nobody would let us do anywhere else. So we decided to do them ourselves.
And this year, the sort of 2 headline events at Overlook on the Immersive Theater side, and Joe's here. Yay! Zombie Joe is here! It's okay, don't worry. You'll get to play along. We just started. The two big headlining events were...
So yeah, on the immersive side of things, because we do a number of live events, music showcases, pop-ups. The immersive side had Annie Lesser doing an adaptation of A Apartment 8 from her ABC project called The Chalet, a weekend-long interactive game where you can be solving puzzles in between screenings and such, and kind of dive in at different tiers, and also Blackout. We had a live show of Blackout.
How many people here know what Blackout is? Raise your hands. Yeah, you do. Yeah. All right, Anna, tell us about Shine On.
Sure, so Shine On Collective is an immersive theater company, and we like to create a lot of really surreal, dreamy kinds of shows. This year actually is about dreams, so it's extra surreal and dreamy. I got into this because I'm a big horror fan and I liked haunts, actually. I got into this first through haunts and haunted houses, and then that was kind of my gateway drug into immersive theater. And in my company, I'm primarily the writer, so I got really into the idea of writing these types of stories. I studied mostly prose writing for a long time, and this was just such a cool way to tell a story. So what happened is my co-creator, who's here, Marley, she's our director, and she actually approached me about creating a show for Hollywood Fringe last year, and so it was our 1-year anniversary this summer of being together, and we
And
just
you've
kind of...
like 5 shows since in
Yeah.
a year. You've done a lot of work.
Yeah, it's so nice because it started out with like, let's just do this one show for like the Fringe Festival to try it out, and that would be so much fun. And then that year, I think by the end of that year, we've done like 4 shows or something, and then 2 like conventions, and then we were kind of in it. So that's how I got into all of this.
Jonathan, tell us about Unbound Productions and specifically Wicked Lit.
Sure. Unbound Productions is a immersive theater company dedicated to adaptations of classic stories. Wicked Lit is our project that focuses on horror stories. Some mostly classic short stories from sort of Victorian era, but we also get into legends and folk tales, proverbs, all kinds of different things as source material. Our very first production in 2009, my 2 partners and I, Jeff Rack and Paul Millay. Paul was manning the table. I'm hawking this year's show, so thank you, Paul. We never set out to do immersive theater, at least in the first 6 months of planning. We were presented with an opportunity to do Wicked Lit at Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. The plays that we had written and were looking forward to doing in the theater space worked perfectly for the grounds. There was another immersive play in there at the time. We sort of snuck in there right around the Halloween season, sold out the week before we opened, and said, holy crap. And since then, we've moved to Mountain View Mausoleum and Cemetery, where we've now produced over 30 short plays from many different playwrights and writers and directors and designers from all over the region. It's been really wonderful as everything's grown, and we're sort of inventing our own subgenre in terms of adaptation and the way that we use the space. It's been really delicious to dive into the literature of it and the extremes that horror can go in a theatrical way. And that's where we got to.
Right on.
And finally, the man himself, Zombie Joe. This is an anniversary year for you guys, right?
This is our 25th anniversary season.
So for those who somehow in the Southland don't know, explain a little bit about what the Underground Theater is. But I think what I'd really like to hear is like a little taste of the origin story, since it's its 25th anniversary, like how you got into this.
It's kind of a boring story. I can make it really quick though.
Maybe, oh yeah, go for tweaking.
I gotta say, like 25 years might seem like a long time. Some of us probably not even 25 years old, but it just seems like a blur. The last 25 years, like a beautiful, scary, just like a whirlwind. So basically, I was in school, I was in college, just kind of building sets and working on set design, and I had kind of, I I dove into, I kind of dove into the Russian masters, like, has anybody read like Dostoevsky and like Lermontov and Gogol? And so we also got into Artaud, and I wrote this theater of cruelty play. It was kind of a weird, dark time. I'm still in that weird, dark time in my life, but anyway, so basically I presented this play that I wrote with lizard men and like little girls. It was a totally like about an artist's last days. I wrote this play, and I wanted to do it at UC Irvine, and they're like, fuck you, this is like kind of crazy, we don't like you anyway. So I quit school, I like sold everything I had and leased a space in Northridge, and that was the beginning of just kind of, by the way, I don't recommend anybody do that. You know, it's kind of
Stay in school.
you know, it's we're founded. So our style is founded on like. It's so good to see you, Anna.
Oh, it's good to see you too.
It's good to see you guys. You know, our theater is like based on Artaud and like Brecht, like Caucasian Chalk Circle, and we're all, you know, we're all Meisner and Stanislavski and actors, and we're very much a theater company that about 10 years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, we kind of made the crossover into horror and the haunt, and we'd always kind of been there anyway. So, you know, to get support in theater, in small theater, it can be really challenging. But the crossover into what you're doing here, what we're doing, is really allowed us to stay alive.
Well, let's. The plan is to just kind of dive into what makes horror theater different from other forms of horror, and also to talk about how it's different from other parts of theater. So maybe Anna, come put your fan brain on for a second, and what would you say this mark is?
I think for immersive experiences in particular, too, doing horror theater is really interesting because when people read like literature that's horror or see a film that's horror, I feel like there's a different mindset that you're already in. You know, going into it, there's anticipation. You expect to be made uncomfortable more than, I mean, other genres do that too, but horror is made for that. You know, it's made to induce anxiety and make people uncomfortable and trigger these feelings that most of the time you feel maybe the need to control or suppress or don't like to feel. So I think that making that experience immersive is really interesting and a really interesting next level for a lot of people. The nervousness, you know, people feel like the discomfort before you even start the experience. I feel like that's all so much part of it. And the kind of crossing of some boundaries. I know we'll talk about safety later on. So I don't want to jump in there, but even the crossing of boundaries, you have normal boundaries, which all immersive theater really does. I think that's super amplified in horror too, in an interesting way.
It's a transgressive genre from the word jump, and then making it live or something. Jonathan, you guys play a lot with the American canon, like the British canon, and then also you've done African folklore adaptations. So sort of what's your approach on bringing the horror?
Well, going back to the original question, and then I'll circle back. One thing that we just find wonderful as looking at source material, and specifically in horror, is that, you know, lights rise on a scene and there's a table, there's a little girl sitting at the table, and there's a hammer on that table, and her dad walks in. If it's not horror, there's very little likelihood that little girl is going to pick up that hammer and hit her dad. With horror, you have no idea. And that could be the beginning of a play, and very specific circumstances that take you down a dramatic path. It can be the threat that exists the whole time that raises stakes and asks tougher questions. And so that's what we look for when we're looking for source material, but also what is the story being told, and how do the extremes, whether it's violence or darkness or obsession or jealousy or any of these things that sort of drive people to the edges of their humanity and sometimes beyond. That's what we look for. And so when we're looking at source material, again, whether it's short stories or proverbs or legends or campfire tales, it's how are these stories on the page, how are these ideas being explored in a narrative way, and then how can we amplify that by bringing it to life with dramatic art, and then how is the venue and the immersive nature of the telling of the story enhance or heighten or sharpen that story even more. And so a theater, I think, wants to wake you up, at least theoretically. It wants to engage in a complete and fully sensory way that maybe other artistic medium are focusing on one or another. And I think horror just has an opportunity to do that even more and ask even more, to pushing questions even further out and deeper and harder, especially because of the role of violence and those sorts of stories.
Joe, you guys, like, on the regular get into the boundary pushing zone, and like how much of that is motivating out of the Brechtian and the Artaud, those instincts, and how much of that is just like the fans and the cast kind of luring you down certain dark alleys?
Well, like, I guess its origins, Artaud for us, like theater and its double, really allowed us to, cross boundaries and really, I guess, just kind of go to the other, like where fantasy meets reality, and like in a nightmare with Artaud. And the Brechtian part is more, so like our style of performance is very presentational, straight up performing, standing and delivering kind of performing. So when you cross the two, like the immersion of Artaud with like Brechtian, almost very stoic and cold. That's kind of where we kind of, add a little West Coast dash, a little George Lucas, who's like been a big influence in Chekhov, and that's kind of where we kind of found the horror. But like as far as like where the origins of the horror, kind of where they come in, I just as a person, or even like as an artist, like I live in terror. Like I'm immersed in terror all the time, and putting it on stage or like as an entertainer, like creating it as entertainment, and like I felt like the Shine On too is a really good example of when you're on the streets of Hollywood and you're subject to the real terror of the streets. And Marley's like, she here. Yeah. When she's performing right there in front of the bike racks, like pretty, that's really scary, like looking around and stuff, but, and just feeling like being completely absorbed in terror, like even right now, like I'm just, just terrified, and I feel like turning it into entertainment. And a lot of what you do know it too, like the way you channel a lot of the immersions and stuff, like really gives us an opportunity to kind of like, it's therapeutic and kind of get it out there and can laugh at it and be scared and feel the emotion of it and like process it, right?
Yeah, it's been a really, even outside of the horror part of the immersive theater scene this year, it's almost all the shows are a bummer right now, and I'm trying to like onboard people in. They're like, yeah, I need to talk to you about that. Those are really heavy. Like, it's also I can't take my friends. They're kind of depressed right now. I can't take them to any shows. I'm like, the times we're in. I'm trying to find somebody to help us laugh. Like, there's like 1 or 2 shows, but they're not enough. Landon, I want to. You program film festivals, not just your own, but how are you approaching programming these immersive events into Overlook? Like, what are you looking for? Particularly for people who might be out there thinking of doing their own. I'm sure that's the number one question anyone would corner you would ask afterwards.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting because this last Overlook Festival is the first one where we did curated recreated original pieces by existing artists, or rather remounts of shows that artists had done before. It's a step we've been going towards for a while. Every year we can add kind of another new layer. If we do too much too fast, the whole thing kind of falls apart. So this year we were really excited about doing that, and we wanted to approach it the way we would approach any other kind of programming in any other medium. So already our goal is to connect artists with audiences. So we need to know who our audience is. When you're programming for an audience, you want to give them what they already want, but also what they don't know they want already. So you want to challenge them a little bit. You can't make everything something that's going to really not be, challenge them or not be up their alley. You kind of got to give them what they know they came for, but you want to do a nice balance. So we're looking for diversity of storytelling, diversity of storytellers. For this particular case, it's also something that can be portable and easily mounted in our existing space. We have a really unique location with a lot of really wonderful aspects to it, but a lot of logistical issues that need to be overcome as well. So we need a show that can actually physically be mounted in the space, and also one that we know will be exciting for the initiated, like the folks who know what immersive is, know what these experiential aspects are, want to come live in a horror movie and be scared, but also for those who just kind of want to dip their toe in the water, are a little bit too scared to maybe try it out and know that they can do these other experiences if they want to. It's also like a mix of scope, so we know that there are great one-on-one experiences, we know that there are larger group experiences, so we want to show a little bit of everything. It also has to be something that we think, that really moved us when one of us saw it. We don't take submissions. This was similar to film for the first few years of the festival. We didn't take submissions until we had reached the point where we felt like we had the bandwidth to do it. Eventually we'd like to get to the point where we can take submissions, but for now it's entirely curated. So in terms of kind of getting our attention, the easiest way to do it would be let us know about shows. Because we're going to have to send somebody or go or learn kind of what you're about. We'll have to make the decision on, if it's something that can make sense in the space, because we have a lot of other things we want to do too beyond immersive. So our spaces are only earmarked for certain things. I've had a few people I know recently told me they reached out either via social media or want us to program in a certain way. We can't. That's not the way that we're gonna be able to kind of look at work. We just sort of need to know, we scout shows, and we sort of need to know what you're doing and see it. The other way in the future, this is more long-term, is come to the festival, see what we're doing, and then kind of see if there's something that can actually make logistical sense. We're still gonna need to see a version of it, but as some of our artists who have showcased with us can attest, there's a lot happening. It's like one big theme park, and we need to curate it in a way that's not going to detract from your experience or the audience's. So it's really about
Yes, I want to crack into the original plan. Actually, I was going to have Landon take this first, but Anna, get ready. I'm going to throw this to you for the kickoff. You know what's coming. So, unlike traditional proscenium theater, or unlike a film, immersive stuff in general involves contact to a greater or lesser extent. There's a wing that is sort of our next door neighbor, which is the extreme haunts, which involves a lot of contact. Blackout, as we all know, like there's simulated things in there, like simulated waterboarding and stuff of that nature. Safety. When tackling doing something that in real life which gets you arrested and put away for a long time, deservedly, but in a theatrical setting, it's the stagecraft. So I want to talk about the approach to making things that seem unsafe be safe, and some about the consent of the audience, because in order for people to do this safely, they need to have consented through. So Anna, you guys play a little bit with this. Devoted had touches of it, but not that far down the rabbit hole. And like Zombie, you have shows come through you that you don't necessarily produce, but I'm very curious about like what you ask of the people who present that type of material at your space. But Anna, we'll start with you and jump around, and this after that, this can be a scrum, so don't feel like you have to do I'm never one of those people who likes to like, and then so-and-so talks, and then so-and-so talks, so we're just in it now.
Sure, yeah, so yeah, we're definitely not an extreme hunt, so I don't have all of the knowledge of how extreme hunt runners run their shows, but we do have contact and blindfolding and crawling and touching and stuff that can get intense. I think too sometimes for us we can get emotionally a little intense for people or psychologically more than anything else in some of our shows, like Devoted in particular. Hit a lot of chords for people, I think. On that level, we talked about some heavy stuff in there, child abuse and just all kinds of stuff for these characters. Yeah, so on the part of, I guess I'll start with on the part of the actors, we always want to communicate, and even when we're auditioning actors for those shows, like this is the kind of show it is. We like to kind of feel out how familiar they are with immersive theater and these types of shows, feel out their personality, make sure that they seem like the kind of person who will have a good sense of how to manage people and keep them safe. We'll understand the boundaries. We'll usually give a guideline for exactly what they'll be doing. Our shows are pretty tightly choreographed too, so just the idea that they stay within the bounds of what they're supposed to be doing, that they know what the boundaries of the audience. We've even given our actors essentially like a safe word or a code or something to call us if something is uncomfortable for them and we don't know. No one's had to use it yet. Hopefully it stays that way. But we definitely, will communicate to our actors what they should be doing, what they should be expecting. And of course we usually try to establish communication with the audience to just let them know what the boundaries are, what the rules of the game are, essentially. To me, it's almost like immersive theater like this is almost like a dance. Like you have a dance partner, but they're leading, like when you're the audience or the participant, so you just kind of follow their lead and you can still participate and it's fun and you'll be fine. So usually we just kind of make sure that the audience has a good sense of what the boundaries are. We do usually do something like a waiver consent form that usually lays out to you, this is what this show will have in it. Sometimes we put that in an email that we'll send out beforehand. That's what we did for Devoted, where we did some subject matter content that would be in the show, as well as what physically you would be needing to do or what elements you might be exposed to, whether it's darkness or small spaces. And we have even had audience members reach out to us and let us know, hey, I'm extremely claustrophobic, can I do this? Or communicate with us before, which is great. Or I have this injury on my knee, or anything. So that we kind of have that heads up, and we do try to accommodate that as much as we can.
Joe, what do you ask of people who use your facility as producers, as a sort of presenter? Because that's another hat you have, is both producer and presenting producer. What do you ask of the folks who might be staging like what we might call an extreme haunt in your facility?
Well, so far all the immersive shows have been we produced them at our space, but yeah, I think we might. I think pretty soon we might have a guest. We're going to be doing a show pretty soon. Anyway, we're doing a couple productions. Both. So far they've all been at our theater in our space. I'm sorry, what was the question?
What are the safety guidelines that you lay out for doing this type of content work?
Well, we can rearrange the space as needed. So for the immersive shows, we let them in through the front door, and then we have different areas of our space that we can rearrange to bring people through. Well, we just, for example, the Brave the Dark show, we closed Brave the Dark last night, and that was more of a gentle immersion, kind of like the stuff that Shine On does, bringing people through, like almost like a the dance. But then the harder stuff, you know, I guess we just take from station to station. And it's tricky. I think recently we were just talking about this safety. Russ and I were just talking about what do we, you know. So what's the audience's role? It's almost like that the audience, they're performers with us, right? They're performing with us. So a lot of the times we know them, and sometimes we don't know them as well. But I think the whole thing, like just immersive theater in itself, which we've been successful with, we've had success with it, is just totally terrifying. Like even just trying to figure, so it's nice to know that there's support out there to figure out when things arise, how do we handle them? And things come up all the time. Whether it's safety, tripping, or safe word, or just unexpected things. The audience not knowing how to behave, and then we're kind of like, we contend with that and just get through the performance. But I feel like the safe word for the audience, and as performers we have safe words too, but I think for the audience, it's been super, if they want to tap out or whatnot, that's really key. I don't know, man, I think this whole like immersive theater, since there's so much of it that's around, like even like doing Apartment 8, you know, that, you know, Annie and Kate put on, like that was like, I was terrified just being in that bathroom. I mean, I didn't know, it was all around, it's just completely terrifying.
There's a lot of trust that goes into it, right? Like that's the thing, is like, particularly shows that don't want to give you any information before you arrive. Like this is one giant trust fall with everyone. And like, I'm always terrified that someone's gonna betray that trust fall, right? Like someone's gonna step into one of these things, start thinking backwards, and then go, splat, concussion. Landon, not Landon, you know, you're sitting next to me, but you've got this scenario with Overlook where you've got the weekend game going on, you've got a couple of smaller events happening, and you have a large uninitiated audience. So maybe, you know, what's the consideration there, like getting people used to this idea that this thing exists? And then Jonathan, I want to talk about, like, you've got a lot of traditional theater fans coming in and they're experiencing it in a different way. So moving that.
Yeah, we have, unlike, you know, a lot of your guys' shows or some of the other shows that we're big fans of, our audience isn't going to them, the shows are coming to the audience. The whole space, so it becomes a more complicated scenario. Also, that whole audience is, yes, there is a nice chunk of that audience that really wants to do all of the immersive things or do the extreme aspects of the festival. There is a whole other group that has no idea what this stuff is at all. I mean, many people want to be the star of their own horror movie. Many people, but just because you like slasher films doesn't mean you want to know what it feels like to be stabbed. And that is, I think, a perfectly reasonable way to feel. And also our festival, ultimately, we have, and we'll be developing a family program. There are a lot of different types of people. So what we do is we work extremely hard to, the same way you would with any other aspect of the film festival, do our best to onboard and explain what type or what level of experience things are to folks who are attempting to try it out. For the immersive stuff this year, for example, you could not buy a ticket to it. You had to be a high-level badge member, which already meant you were more likely to be excited or know what the aspect was, because that's what we were spending the money on. In addition to that, a lot of the smaller shows had sign-ups. They came with orientations. We tried the best in our program notes, at our info booths to explain. That said, a lot of our artists also like to preserve a sense of mystery, and we want to respect our artists, but it's all, again, balance. It's always balance. And what they're going into making sure they're comfortable with what they signed up for, but also preserve whatever mysteries are meant to be part of that experience, which can be a very tricky thing. With something like the extreme haunt, like with Blackout, which we had mentioned we put in, a lot of times that had to do with sort of a way you could exit before you even started, and a waiting list with a cutoff that could then be kind of moved on, and a very extensive waiver that was given to you in advance with an extra warning on top of that to make sure you looked at it and saw. And like that wasn't meant to scare people so much as to make sure the people who were supposed to be there that would enjoy that type of experience would actually be there. That said, we also counter-programmed with lighter experiences, something called the Pumpkin Pie Show, for example, which was another one-on-one experience that was much more of a delightful, as delightful as a spooky story can be, but far less invasive on the audience. The goal is to have a lot of different experiences, be as clear as possible as you can with what those entail, and then still have as many safeguards as possible going in. Because we've got the problems of putting on a film festival in general, especially at our remote locations, are already huge, and once you layer this immersive carnival on top of it, it's its own separate set of issues. And every single time, every single year, there's some kind of hiccup in every single piece. We do extensive rap meetings and post-festival to figure out how to make this better and better, more comfortable for everyone involved. We do have a zero tolerance policy as a festival for any artist or audience member that crosses that boundary, and because that kind of feeling of safety is important. Once you come to the festival, you're in okay. The location has trusted us, the badge holders have trusted us, the artists have trusted us, the filmmakers have trusted us. And so we need to make sure that they are having the experience that they came here to have.
I'll have a question on the Pumpkin Pie Show for you later, but Jonathan, the balance of what people are going to wind up encountering versus them needing to know, before they head in what they really need to prepare for. How do you guys approach that?
Well, we intentionally explain very little about how the show works in terms of when you arrive and when you get information and where you're going to go and how you follow story guides and you're going to get a color. It's hilarious actually listening to people at the show explaining it to other people because they get there and they're like, what do we do? And it's like, oh, well, let me tell you, I've been working with it the last 3 years. Because we want you to hear that, do it, follow the instructions, and then forget about it. It's as if no one would explain if you went to a traditional theater, like you sit in a chair and you open your eyes and we want it to be that simple. What we do try and do is convey the stories, the content, especially in terms of trigger warnings and things that could stop people from having a good experience, because that's useless for everyone. If someone's just unhappy, if they're thrilled, or if they're engaged, or if they're taken to a place that they didn't think they wanted to go to, but wow, are they happy they got there, wonderful. But if they're just unhappy, that's the DMV, we don't want to do that. So we true horror. Exactly. So we lay the groundwork, and if there's things that we don't want to reveal, we'll say contact us for more information, but we don't go into there will be a story guide, because then we're just gonna get more questions anyway. But it is, and we also try and convey the tone of what we do, and that it's dark, it's creepy, it's classic horror. We try and use the terms that say it's not scary farm, it's not Blackout, but it's also not seeing The Exorcist doesn't get from Playhouse. It's another kind of thing, and we work hard at that. Everything from down to fonts, down to imagery, the play descriptions themselves. And we try and convey this has the semblance of a traditional theater event. This has the semblance of a immersive horror haunt, and it's really somewhere on that continuum. And even every part of the show could be on a different part of the continuum, but Wicked Lit overall lives in a certain place that the right audience will want to experience.
Yeah, that's the thing that can be hardest in my role as a journalist, is trying to play matchmaker with this stuff for people, particularly when a show is operating in a black box and you know, in traditional theater, if you're going to go to see Hamlet, you know what you're going to get. You're getting Hamlet. And it's always a risk when you go to see a piece of new work. It's kind of interesting. With Joe, you've got a few recurring shows happen. Like if someone comes to Urban Death, you know, they'll start to know what it is. It's kind of a reputation there. But I wonder if everyone can put their sort of fan hats on the second. I mean, how much is the mystery part of it, particularly for the horror stuff? Like, how much is that absolutely essential to what makes this special? That's for anybody.
Well, I can answer that in terms of one part of our show. Wickedly has 3 plays and then a frame. And the frame is pre-show entertainment, performances during the intervals, and it's sort of the closest thing to interactive that we do. And we always say the least about that. Mostly, a lot of times we don't know what it is, but a lot of times, but the more artistic version of that, which is also true, is that it's the first thing you experience when you arrive. And that, so that the first thing that you get is a surprise, are these quirky characters that have their own life and their own story and their own world that they are bringing you into as part of Wicked Lit, is definitely part of it. And watching people just like, if they've never been before and they're like, I can't believe I'm in a real cemetery, to people who have gone to previous years and said, wow, they're doing it differently this time. I entered from a different way. They're taking a different approach. And that's part of it. Then it sort of settles into what's been exactly the same with every Wicked Lit we've ever done, which is a curtain speech that says this is how it's going to go. It might have different tone, different time period, and things like that. But that initial impression of what is going on, but it's also safe, it's well lit. I think is really part of it, and just gets everybody jazzed. It's its own kind of pre-show experience. Then with each of the individual plays, you're ready for whatever happens. You're ready to follow people. You're ready to do things that we've asked you to do in the past. You're ready to have a new experience, and I think that's been a lot of fun, and that's been very intentional.
Well, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, the mystery of especially horror and theater, all of it, it's such a big part of it here in LA. You know, we're like crazy. We're like, go to this dark alley, someone will meet you there. They will tell you where to go next, you know, it's like crazy. Like, you know, when you tell people who aren't into this about like what you did or where you're going, they're like, are you going to die? Like, you know, it sounds insane.
On your show, after I was devoted, like the first time through the short one, I was like, you know, if someone wanted to kill one of us, all they had to do was say, meet us in this Vaughn's parking lot. Right. Someone will come for you.
Right. Yeah, so like you were saying before, trust is such a huge part of it. And yeah, to some extent, it is a tricky thing to figure out how to balance the mystery and the allure of that with some sense of you're going to be okay. You know, and communicating that is an interesting juggling act. For that show, where we had a show last year where we had people meet in Vaughn's parking lot and get blindfolded and put in a car where we drove them to our location. And we did send an email out beforehand letting them know that they would be getting in a car and it was all okay and it was part of the show because we didn't think that maybe if we did have someone with, you know, common sense or safety, stranger danger senses, they might say, wait a minute. So it was kind of a thing where we had to try to balance the surprise or the mystery of it with some sense of just letting people know this is part of it, this is safe. You know, you bought your ticket through like Eventbrite, so you can track this down, everything's going to be okay at the same time. But it is definitely, I feel like it's a little bit of a balancing act to have that mystery, but also have that sense of security. Because when we do these things, we're doing it because it's a show and we're going to survive and come out the other end of it and be able to tell people about it and have that experience. So yeah, I think it's definitely a really unique thing to immersive theater, especially horror theater, because we want it to be scary.
Did anyone get involved? Did anyone get into the wrong car? Ever?
Did anyone not get into the car?
Did anyone get into the wrong car?
Oh, no, we did not. I didn't get to the wrong car, I'm proud to say. Yeah, yeah. There was a security guard in that parking lot too, and I think he thought we were like feeding the homeless or something. We don't really understand.
Wait, so we all look homeless?
I don't know. I don't think anyone looked homeless, but I guess he said something to our actors like, I'm so glad that you guys are taking care of people or something along the way. So, I mean, the one good thing is we knew that there was security there and he had eyes on like people and kind of knew us and was cool with what we were doing. He didn't really know what we were doing, but he was cool with what we were doing. So, And so
Did you see you blindfold people?
yeah, but everyone was like, but everyone was really peaceful about it. We weren't like forcing people into cars, so I guess he assumed everything was okay.
It was this nice, slightly odd-looking couple who approached you, knew you by name, and you walked
No,
in
they
the
were
car.
well dressed. They were very
Write a
polite.
letter to Vaughn's corporate.
Just let them know.
Security, like, ask more questions, security guard. They're not going to answer.
I know, it worked out for us, because he sort of got to know us and was fine with this. I think at some point towards the end, someone was like, this is a performance, or one of our actors said something to him, and he was like, oh, okay, but like,
There's a whole other line on this about like doing this stuff in public. You know, 13 minutes left. I dread the equipment. Do I have one or two? Yes, down here.
Okay. How do you make things audience-proof when you're doing set design? If you know people are going to try and rifle through the drawers and be immersed in...
Did everyone hear that? Okay, so the question is, how do you make things audience-proof on set design if they have the ability to rifle through things? Or if they're in, I don't know, a mausoleum.
Yeah, it's tricky because we're in a real mausoleum and it's really old and it's really fragile, and they could very easily lean on something too hard and cause lots of damage and release terrible things into the mausoleum. And we literally have a curtain speech that says don't lean on the walls. And then we also have actors who are attached to every play, especially anything in the mausoleum, that as they're going into an area that's more narrow, there's a character-driven warning of not to do things like that. We do build sets, and we take audiences into places that we build, and when we do that, if there's a drawer we don't want people to open, like it won't open. It's a drawer, we've never had a drawer that we did want somebody to open. But we did have things like, last year there was like a spooky art exhibit in an army tent. And it was definitely interactive, and you could pick stuff up and move stuff around. And people found ways to get into things we didn't want them to, but we try and what we actually do with that is we let some of our actors just go at it and say, like, pretend we're crazy audience members and you didn't want to read the signs, or try and open this door. But the bigger thing for us is the mausoleum. It's a real place, it's really old, and just reinforces those warnings. So I don't know how interesting an answer is, but that's what we do.
And anything you guys encountered? You guys were doing one of the shows as Marley's apartment.
yes, we did. We did one of the shows at Emily's apartment, one of our actually last Halloween show. I think a lot of what we ended up doing was sort of just trying to subtly cue people, and it worked out for the most part. It's very guided. Really, most of our shows are very guided. So if we opened a drawer, and people would do things like put a light in it or something, so that someone kind of knew you can look in there. And if you left someone alone, we made sure that we just left them alone. We really gutted Marley's apartment. I had a bunch of her furniture at my place piled up, and we filled cars and things. So, we had really a lot of stuff where we really made sure that was controlled. So if someone did kind of walk around, and they didn't have a whole lot of time to do that, and we did have a moment where you were left alone to kind of look around. But if you did look around, most of what you would find would be stuff that we would put there that was okay to find. We even used little zip ties to make sure that we sealed anything that we didn't want you to open, because you just find stuff that wasn't the characters. We did try to control that as much as possible. I think too, when there's an actor in the scene with you, we really train our actors on how to control the room. We even, at our rehearsals, we'll even try to sometimes play with the actors and be like the bad audience, just or try to be what we can predict of, an audience member who's acting up or talking over them or trying to go someplace else. How do you manage that? So we try to troubleshoot as much as we can.
I think here in Los Angeles, we find a lot of things hew more to sort of the darker art form, where there's a lot of guidance, a lot of attention is being paid to the audience. We don't tend to find the sandbox here so much, where people are kind of able to get out and rifle through things. I know that, in Sleep No More, there's whole rooms built, and they have a bunch of stuff in the back to reload. There's the candy room, but you can also end up missing the candy room. I missed the candy room the first time. I was really upset because I was going on a diet the next week, and I was like, I missed the blood orgy in the candy room. I was very angry about both of those things. So I went back for both. The candy was not very good, but the blood orgy was excellent. Another question. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Sold Americans. So, how can we find... Oh, wait, was there anything? No? Good. How can we find a zombie? Let's start down and we'll work this way. How do people find you?
So we're zombiejoes.com, and we're at 4850 Lancashire on North Hollywood, and we're on Facebook and Twitter. But actually, you can just go to zombiejoes.tix.com, and you can see what's playing, what's the tickets that are for sale for the shows. It's pretty much, and we have lots of cool stuff coming up. We're doing like a full epic Western that's opening West Destiny, and we're doing our own version of Pageant of Masters, which is called Festival of Living Art, where we recreate like Banksy, Van Gogh, and all these pieces.
Oh yeah. Don't they wasn't that in like Arrested Development at one point? Like, yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
We do like, well, so if you go to Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, you see like 15 pieces, it's beautiful, you know, but for us, we're a little scrappier about it. We'll create like, we'll do Dali pieces, Guernica, stuff like that.
It makes so much sense for you. Like when I saw Renata, I was like, oh, this is a little Grand Guignol, a little Pageant of Masters action. Like you get those tableaus going. Like that's so awesome. That's so perfect for you guys.
And come on out, and also you can feel free to come out and the immersive end of it. You can actually jump on stage and help us. No, I'm just kidding. We're actors.
You tell them that they're gonna do. Jonathan, what's in store for Wicked and Unbound?
Yes, unboundproductions.org, wickedlit.org will also get you there. Wickedlit 2017 starts September 29th. We're running through mid-November. We are casting the show right now, so we're in the throes of all of that.
Is that cool?
And so far, so good. So far, so good. We've got other things in the works for next year. We just closed a show at the Arboretum. We also have a mystery lit series, if any of you have a mystery corner to your brain in addition to horror, which was a lot of fun. We're really focused on the big fall show. New directors, new writers using the space in a way that we never have before.
You guys do so great, man. Wicked Lit is awesome stuff. Awesome, like such high quality, just great work.
Appreciate that, yeah. So that's, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff.
Awesome.
Like that, Jeff.
And your turn.
And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our website is www.shineoncollective.com, and it has links to all of those. Our Facebook, I think, is facebook.com/the Shine On Collective, and our Twitter is Shine On Shows. And cool. And our Instagram is one of those two. I think it's Shine On Collective on
I
Instagram.
think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a collective.
They're all slightly different, so I'm going to confuse them at some point. We have our next show coming up kind of around Halloween season, and it will be running in October and November, and it's called Sweet Dreams.
Nice.
The best way to find us is on our website, which is overlookfilmfest.com. And I would recommend, if you want updates on when we'll be announcing new things, to join our mailing list on the website. We are also on Twitter at the Overlook Fest. Facebook's Overlook Film Festival, Instagram I think is Overlook Film Fest. But the website will have all of that. We typically, because we're in our wrap stage right now, we typically hold our festival in the late spring, but we will be making announcements throughout the fall. So the mailing list is going to be the best time, or the best way to find out when exactly next dates are, when we'll put passes and various tickets on sale, and what the content of our programming is going to be, because we do change it up. We do change various things up every year. We are committed to having immersive horror at the festival in various forms, so that will be a constant. You'll want to join our mailing list to kind of figure out exactly what we'll be doing in any given year, because we change the themes up a little bit.
All right, the music for this episode, I'm sorry, I'm joking about this. Joke for 3 people in the audience. You can find me at noproscenium.com. We just switched from that being a static site to being an actual functioning blog. The media blog was always there, we just didn't have the URL directly there. So find us at noproscenium.com. You can sign up for the newsletter there. It comes to LA One comes out every 2 weeks. There's also New York, San Francisco, Midwest, and a little bit of Southeast action there. And then if a constant rolling conversation about this stuff is what you live for, if you go to everythingimmersive.com, you will currently be redirected to a Facebook group called Everything Immersive. We started it in May. There's now 1,500 people on it from around the planet. It's the watering hole, so it's the most efficient thing I've found so far to get the word out there about the great big wide open space that is immersive, both horror and not horror. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.